Hello everyone, I am back. It's been a few days since you last saw me when I did my live stream of the AEW Revolution pay-per-view, and you all that, those of you that tuned into the stream, you got to see me watch it, react to it, drink some. Got some more of that Dragon's Milk Stout. It's pretty good. This is good stuff. Good shit. But anyways, again, thank you to everybody who participated in that stream. I had a lot of fun doing it. It was my first stream in a while, and it went mostly well. Not entirely well, but it went mostly well. And I don't think I've ever watched, is that the first time I've ever watched, a live pay-per-view for you guys? I did watch Ultima Lucha 4 that one time, but I don't know if that's exactly the same as watching a pay-per-view. And so you got to see me mark out and act crazy for a bit, which I'm sure it was fun for some people. But yeah, I do plan on doing more of those. And actually, this video I'm uploading right now is my 700th upload on this channel, but not my 700th video, because as I've said before, back in the early days when there were time restrictions, I'd split a couple of my videos up into multiple parts. So I've got, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 4 more videos to go until I reach 700. So maybe I'll do something special for the 700th video. I don't know. I don't even know why 700 is a significant number, but, you know, I've been doing this almost a decade. I don't even know if that number's high or low for a decade, for a channel that's been around for a decade. But again, who the fuck knows? So before I get into the main topic of today's video, I did want to do my usual beginning of the month, top 10 matches from the previous month. Let's get right into it. February 2020. So, top 10 favorite matches. Number 10, Adam Cole versus Tomasso Ciampa for the NXT title, the main event to NXT TakeOver Portland. Tetsuya Naito defending the IWGP World and IC titles against KENTA from New Japan New Beginning in Osaka. Pac versus Orange Cassidy from AEW Revolution. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Cody versus Wardlow in a steel cage match from AEW Dynamite, the February 19th episode. Cody versus MJF from AEW Revolution. Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovik for the North American title from NXT TakeOver Portland. Hiromu Takahashi versus Dragon Lee, or I keep calling him Dragon Lee, Ryu Lee for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title from New Beginning in Osaka. Jon Moxley defending the U.S. title against Minoru Suzuki, also from New Beginning in Osaka. Excuse me. Number 2, Kenny Omega versus Pac in the 30-minute Iron Man match from AEW Dynamite, the February 26th episode. And my number 1 favorite match of the month, the one that Dave Meltzer gave 6 stars and basically designated as, I believe, the best match in North American history. If I'm not mistaken, because not many matches have gotten the 6th star. I know that I think wasn't the first Kenny Okada match the first one to get 6 stars from Meltzer, and this is the match that also got 6 stars from Meltzer. First, as far as I know, it's the first North American match to get that designation. Hangman Page and Kenny Omega successfully defending the AEW Tag Team titles against the Young Bucks from AEW Revolution. Great match. I normally don't give a shit about star ratings, but since I am picking this match as the match of the month, figured I might as well reference Dave Meltzer just because it's a talking point that's going on right now. And brand of the month, if you haven't figured it out at this point, I'm going to give it to AEW. I thought Revolution was a great show, and I thought the episodes of Dynamite leading into that pay-per-view were some of the best pieces of television that AEW has produced thus far. Really good shows leading up to the event, and when it came time to do the event, they delivered, and now I have stuff to look forward to moving forward with their version of War Games right around the corner. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And AEW, man, they produced some really good stuff in February, and hopefully they can continue that momentum and work out some of the kinks that they currently have. But overall, I thought February was a slam dunk for them in terms of the quality of their shows. Much improved from what they were. I know, there was a huge lag in, December and January a little bit, and it felt like in, late January... to be honest, it really started with the Cody MJF whipping segment, and then after that... they seem to just really fire on all cylinders and just really come on strong heading into the pay-per-view, which is good. You want that kind of momentum heading into a pay-per-view event. And they delivered when it came time to do the big event. So I was happy with it. I'm not going to do a full-fledged review of the show because you all saw me watch it. So I don't think doing a review would be pointless. Just go and watch the live stream. I even, in the text in the description, I put a little description of what I thought of the show. A little summary. Yeah, I don't need to talk about the entire show, but do know that I did really, really enjoy the show. It was a very, very good one. And, when I'm thinking of, like, best pay-per-views of the year or best, like, major events of the year, like, Wrestle Kingdom's up there, I'm sure. This last NXT TakeOver was really good. It was not one of my favorites that they've done. It was a B+ in a world that's typically full of A's. But I think WrestleMania weekend, they have a chance to deliver something much stronger. We'll see how all of that goes. I wasn't a huge fan of the finish to the main event this week on NXT, but that said, I can see what they're setting up for, and I think what we ultimately will get will be a really strong takeover, at least one would hope. And but AEW right now, I think, is doing really, really well. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully they're able to continue that momentum and keep on moving onwards and upwards, and we just keep getting better and better stuff. But now, the main topic I wanted to talk about is a very controversial figure in the world of professional wrestling these days. Jim Cornette's absolute favorite wrestler, the one, the only, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Now, Orange Cassidy is a very unique act in pro wrestling. Very funny. If you saw my live stream, you saw me watching his match with Pac, which I think won a lot of people over. That match was really well received, talking to a lot of people and reading a lot of reviews online. The match with Pac was actually really well received, and I'm going to use that to kind of highlight what I'm talking about when I talk about Orange Cassidy. But pretty much, I had seen Orange Cassidy before AEW, and I'd heard the name thrown around, and I'd watched a match or two. But he didn't really start to get a lot of attention until AEW started up, and he was featured on the show. And it's funny, he's been on TV all these months, and he just had his first, singles match at the pay-per-view. And I feel like Hangman Page right now, drinking a beer in the middle of doing this. But I guess I'm just full of cowboy shit. Who knows? But anyway, Cassidy is an act. He's basically a comedy act. And a lot of his matches in the indies kind of push the what's the word I want to go for? Kind of the suspension of disbelief of pro wrestling, where very similarly to Joey Ryan, and I guess I could lump in Joey Ryan with this as well, with the dick flip. And I'll be honest, I do prefer, how do I want to phrase this? Because I'm not like a strict, I want everything to be super duper realistic. But I do like to be able to believe in what I'm seeing to some degree. And when you do a dick flip, that kind of takes me out of it. And keep in mind, I actually really like Joey Ryan. I really like the guy. I think he plays his character well. I think he performs it well. And I think he has an act that kind of sets him apart from everybody else. The dick flip, not my cup of tea. Lucha Underground, where he was on that show, and believe it or not, they didn't have him do the dick flip on that show, which is shocking. Because Lucha Underground, that show was like anything, nothing was off limits on that show. But I think Joey's a really entertaining personality, but he's, the dick flip maybe a little bit much. And some of Orange Cassidy's matches on the indie scene, it's like, there's some funny stuff there, but maybe a little bit too much. But Orange Cassidy has really caught on strong in AEW to the point where he's really one of the most over guys on the show. And that's one of the good things about AEW is that, I kind of expected and kind of feared to some degree that it was going to be Cody, Jericho, the Bucks, and Hangman, or not Hangman, but Omega, and Moxley. And those would be the only guys that would be able to get over, and those are the only guys that would be focused on. And you look at some of the guys that have really caught on with the audience, like the Darby Allins and Luchasaurus, who I'm a big fan of because I like big guys and I like dinosaurs. But I'm very easy to please. And, Jungle Boy to a certain degree, not as high as the other two. Hangman Page has caught on very, very strongly the last couple months or so, to the point where it's like, I feel like he's more over than the Bucks and Omega. And he's having matches regularly involving those guys. And I'm like, that's interesting. But another name on that list is Orange Cassidy, who would, like, one of the most over guys, gets among the best reactions on the show. And he's hardly ever had a match. I think he's been in a couple tag matches prior to the pay-per-view. And the pay-per-view was his first singles match. And he's been on TV for months. And... But why is that? And that's the big, like, topic of discussion for this video. Despite the fact that you have people like Jim Cornette saying that he's destroying the business and he's a joke and completely kills the art of professional wrestling, and yet he's massively over with the current AEW audience. Now, one could argue it's like, they could grow their audience into 3, 4, 5 million every week if they just didn't have that goddamn Orange Cassidy there to please, like, the 4,000 or 5,000 in the arena that are there to watch goofy shit. I don't know. That would be the argument that Jim Cornette would make. Like, AEW can't grow as long as they're pushing things like an Orange Cassidy. I can't validate if that's true or not. I don't know, like... when you look at what the masses enjoy, lest we not forget, like, Twilight and the Michael Bay Transformers movies were both pop culture phenomenon. So just because something is massively popular and appeals to the masses and draws in 3, 4, 5 million people and gets huge audiences doesn't mean it's necessarily good. It's just they kind of a lot of it's just luck. It's just right place, right time, right audience, and it's just they just ride that wave until they can't anymore. And so I can't confirm if Orange Cassidy is somehow getting in the way of AEW growing their audience. I don't know. I'm not there backstage. I don't look at the numbers. Not the main topic of this video. What I am going to talk about, though, is why has Orange Cassidy gotten over with the current AEW audience as it is? And I think, personally, it's because he's unique and he stands out. And, we went through, like, an entire generation of indie stars with varying degrees of success, like AJ Styles, who just won Wrestler of the Decade. Congratulations to AJ, someone I've been a big fan of for over a decade and a half at this point. Guys like Daniel Bryan, guys like Austin Aries, who's kind of the opposite end of that spectrum, where it's like, I was never really the biggest fan of Austin Aries, but they were all kind of cut from the same cloth, where we've got this entire generation of wrestlers where they all had to be either high flyers, catch-as-catch-can wrestlers, or both. They couldn't be, like the power guys and the big guys kind of got, I don't want to say phased out, because they didn't get completely phased out, especially in WWE, but it felt like just every wrestler was coming up, had that, for lack of a better term, that indie look. And I think in cases like AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, they had a personality or something about them that helped them connect with the audience. But there were a lot of guys that looked exactly the same. I remember watching a match. It was Victory Road 2004, and they did an X Division Battle Royal or Gauntlet or something like that. And there were like a handful of guys in that match where I looked at them and just went, who the fuck are these people? Like, they all look the fucking same. Like, did you even have to bother? Couldn't you have just thrown job guys out there? Did you have to pull Jason Cross from the Indies to go in there and do like a, I don't want to call him like an AJ Styles impersonator, but that's kind of how it felt for a while. And so because that went on for so long, and even in the WWE, which was always the land of the giants, guys like CM Punk and I'll be honest, CM Punk, probably of all the big indie darlings of the 2000s, he was probably the least athletic of the bunch, but he had the best promos, best personality, and that's what separated him from the pack instantly. So I don't know if Punk's like a good example, but size-wise, sure, but my point is, you look at these guys, a lot of them can do 450 splashes, a lot of them can do shooting star presses, a lot of them can do like these crazy high-flying moves, and a lot of them can get down on the mat and wrestle. So when it gets right down to it, you've got like this huge pool of talent that all kind of look the same and all kind of do the same thing, and none of them stand out as a result. And that, well, not none, but it becomes much harder to stand out, because I remember back when I was a kid, and I would see somebody do like a top rope, like a missile drop kick, and that was like, whoa, that's amazing. Nowadays, like a missile drop kick's nothing. Like a missile drop kick is fucking basic. Savage, Randy Savage, who's one of my favorites to watch as a kid, the stuff he did was seen as like extreme back in the day, and nowadays it's as basic as basic can be. But my point is that the last generation of wrestlers produced like a ton of amazing athletes that can do incredible things, but because there's so many of them, it doesn't stand out as much, not like it used to. You know, the Rockers, again, when I was a kid, the Rockers were like the big athletic high-flying tag team, and now it's like almost everybody is the Rockers at this point. And because of that, somebody can come in and debut on NXT or Raw or AEW or any other show, just name it, and they could do a 450 splash, and it'd be like, yeah, it'll pop the crowd for sure, because it's an amazing fit of athleticism. But is it going to help them stand out in the long run? And I'll even use Pac as an example. Adrian Neville. In NXT, I thought he was kind of dull. I thought he was kind of like... and he had some really good matches, like his match with Sami Zayn where he dropped the title, but I thought he was like, he's kind of dull. Once he adopted this personality of being a brute and an asshole, that was when he connected with me. He had a personality that set him apart from all the other cruiserweights that were coming up in NXT and showing up in WWE when they restarted the cruiserweight division. And he's carried that over into AEW, I would think, successfully at this point, is what I would say. But it wasn't... his athleticism that necessarily endeared him to me. It was factors outside of that, in addition to that. And that brings me to Orange Cassidy, where, you know, you have all these guys. I mean, how many matches have suicide dives? How many matches have big, impressive, high-flying moves? Like, almost all of them nowadays. It's almost... I could almost turn, like, suicide dives into a drinking game for any wrestling show at this point, except maybe NWA Power. Because it's just become an expected thing at this point. So, when you look at situations like that, where, again, an entire generation came up, great, amazing athletes, then you have this generation, this decade... And they're all like the Joey Ryans and guys like Orange Cassidy. It's like, okay, what can I do to really stand out? And what can I do to really set myself apart from everybody else? Well, I can come up with this personality. I can come up with this gimmick and develop like a shtick, for lack of a better term. Just develop a routine, and hopefully it'll connect. And in Orange Cassidy's case, it has connected. It did connect with audiences, for sure. And you know, it's not like uncommon to see something like that. Maybe we can say Orange Cassidy is a far more extreme version of this, but, you know, again, going back to my childhood, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I didn't watch Hacksaw Jim Duggan for his wrestling ability. I watched Hacksaw Jim Duggan to watch him go out there, say ho, wave the American flag, hit somebody with a 2x4, hit the 3-point stance into the clothesline, and then get the hell out of Dodge. Like, I didn't watch Hacksaw Jim Duggan for Matt Classics. I watched him because he was a goofy character that they would throw out there, and then, you know, when it came time to get heat on a heel, they would do that by having him beat up Hacksaw. And there were plenty of gimmicks, plenty of characters like that. Orange Cassidy is a far more extreme version of that, where he wrestles with his hands in his pockets and does the like half-hearted super kicks and things like that to kind of like taunt his opponent. And it's one of those weird things. It's like, you know, I've heard the terms in wrestling before, the puppet master, where they kind of lead the audience and get the audience invested in every little thing that they do. And again, go back and watch that match at Revolution. Orange Cassidy had that crowd in the palm of his hand, and it was kind of remarkable to watch. To see somebody do so little and get over that much, I think it's pretty impressive. That is I've always heard the mindset that less is more, and it's like, dude, he can go out there and entertain the crowd and do almost nothing. It's like, that's kind of amazing if you think about it, but I think that's part of why Orange Cassidy got over so much, because he's doing something that no one else is doing, and he's able to stand apart from his own. So when I watch an Orange Cassidy match, I'm not watching anybody else, and it's not going to be like a paint-by-numbers formulaic thing that typically, like what I would see in WWE a lot of the times, where it's like, I feel like guys just go out there and have the exact same layouts, exact same match. I remember there was a point in WWE, and this was prior to like NXT and things like that, but there was a point in WWE, it was before the Shield, because Shield, I think, kind of fixed a lot of the problems with tag team wrestling in that company, but where every single tag team match looked exactly the goddamn same, to the point where I could almost set a stopwatch to it. It was like, okay, it's going to be a one-on-one match. Babyface gets in trouble, gets double-teamed by heels, then he gets hot tag, then they do the hot tag sequence, and then they do the finish. It's going to be that. It's going to be that exact same layout. I could almost predict it spot for spot, regardless of who was even in the match. And there was a lot of times in Ring of Honor in the mid-2000s where, on the internet, everybody said that everything Ring of Honor did was the most amazing thing ever. And I remember trying to watch one of their pay-per-views or one of their big events, and I was burned out by the third match, because every match looked the exact same fucking same. Where guys are doing the exact same layout, they're all doing the big kickouts, big high-flying moves, and everybody's trying to go out there and steal the fucking show. And when you do that, the show becomes very repetitive and you burn out easy. Another great example, to use a TNA example, I remember the first Lockdown, where I was like, okay, that's 8 cage matches. And then I think by the 4th or 5th cage match, I was like, guys, I'm tapping out here. I'm like, time out. Let's stop with the fucking cage matches. And then AJ and Abyss closed the show strong. But it was like, it was just too much. And it was too many people trying to do the exact same fucking things. And it just became boring and repetitive. And that's no knock on the wrestlers in that case. I think they did the best they possibly could, given how stupid the layout of that show was. And I still hate Lockdown to this day, but anyway. I think more than anything else, I think Orange Cassidy displays a level of creativity, a level of independent thought, that he would come up with this all on his own and create an act that would get over with the audience. And I say good for him. Again, there are ways that you can take that gimmick and push it too far, to where I'd be like, okay, that's going a little too far. I don't think I've seen that in AEW. Because I think, again, going back to the match with Pac, you had a great clash of characters where you had this guy who's this mean-spirited asshole that likes to beat people up against this guy that half-heartedly tries. And at first, Pac was not taking him seriously. And then Orange Cassidy both frustrated him by not caring, and then frustrated him by showing, oh yeah, by the way, I can actually do stuff, and you just don't know about it. And that stuff was great. I don't know, again, to harken back to the comparison I'd made in my preview video, it was like Yano and Suzuki, kind of, where it's like, all right, you got this murdering psychopath up against this goofball that likes to rip the pads off the turnbuckles and do a shtick, basically. And you got this great, funny cat and mouse bit out of the two. And I'm like, I love watching Yano and Suzuki go at it. And they offer something completely different to what I see on the rest of the New Japan card. So whenever they get put together, I'm like, I get excited. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to laugh for the next 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to be great. And that's another aspect. I've never been opposed to having comedy in wrestling. I think wrestling is at its best, or at least I enjoy a wrestling show the most when it's more of a when it provides more variety. Like, if every match is a super serious grudge match, then everything just kind of looks the same and they all blend together. If you have one that's kind of a screwball match, and you have one that's a serious blood feud, and you have one that's kind of a normal match that's thrown out there to determine rankings, or if you have a high-flying match and a hardcore match, and a catch-as-catch-can wrestling match, whatever. Variety is the best formula for success in pro wrestling, I think, because, you know, it allows individual characters and personalities to stand out, and it allows for a little bit for everybody, where if you don't like the comedy match, well, you're going to have this great, like, which is what AEW Revolution did, where if you don't like the Orange Cassidy match, well, you did have that amazing tag team match to keep you kind of fill that element for you. And you had like a wild, kind of old school grudge match in Cody and MJF, and you had kind of a traditional main event, I don't want to say traditional, more like an Attitude Era style main event in a way, with the brawl through the crowd and everything, and a little bit of Gaga. But yeah, I like variety in pro wrestling. I don't want to sit down watching it. The worst thing that could ever happen with a wrestling show if I'm sitting down and watching it and I feel like every match looks the exact same. So I think Orange Cassidy appeals to that part of the fan base that likes to have something different, and it gives the people something to be excited about. And going into this pay-per-view, I was excited just to see, like, what's an Orange Cassidy match in AEW going to look like? How far are they going to let him go with this? And what's he going to do with Pac? So there was legitimate, like, intrigue there that they built into him. But in any case, that's my thoughts on why Orange Cassidy is over and why he's kind of a valuable asset to AEW at this point. How far can the act go? I don't know. That's up to them, and that's up to, to determine how creative they want to be with the character, if they can keep giving him fresh material, because that's another aspect, because that could easily get old quick. New Day had its moments where it was super, super funny and super, super entertaining, and then it's gone into like these deep valleys where it's like, oh god, I'm so sick of this. Please do something different, or do something. Because I love them. I remember when they came out of the breakfast cereal box at WrestleMania, I'm like, that's fucking great. I love that. Nowadays, I'm like, oh, New Day's on. Oh, they're going to throw pancakes? I don't care. So hopefully they've got more material for Orange Cassidy and they're able to keep him over. But for right now, I think he's an asset to the company and to the product, because he provides something different that nobody else provides. And that helps him stand out, and it helps AEW stand out as a result. So those are my thoughts on the matter. What did you think? Comment down below. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you get notified when I post new videos. But that is all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. And again, I'm going to start doing the live streams again. I don't know when or what or how or what, how it's all going to go down, but I'll think of something. I will think of something. I do have an idea for a birthday-related one that I might want to do, but I'm debating with myself whether or not I want to do it. But I'll explain more later. It's fine, but we'll cover more. But that is all I have for you right now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and thank you for all the support. And to those of you that watched the stream last week, I had a lot of fun doing that, and I do look forward to doing more of those in the future. Hopefully you all have a great weekend. I know I will, because I have almost nothing to do, so I'm just going to be a lazy bump on a log, and it's going to be great because I finally have time to myself. But that is all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you.